This is Teacher Eduardo, and in this video, I'm going to show you a template for creating learning strategies. So learning strategies within teaching, within more specifically teaching languages, are essential. Now, in this post here, well, I'm going to be showing you step by step here what I have. So to begin with, we have to understand first, well, a learning strategy. In a general sense, in a very general sense, a learning strategy is a set of steps you design to make learning a specific topic or skill. Uh, so in this way, you facilitate, you make it more accessible, something that perhaps initially you thought was rather complex or elaborate. By creating your strategy, then you suddenly make it accessible and easy to do. So this is why it is very important for you as a language teacher to, in fact, integrate within your lesson planning a series of strategies depending on the group you have, the topics, the language points, and well, everything in general. So as your lesson planning, you're deciding which strategies fit best within the context of that session. So for this specific idea here, even though like a strategy, you can do it for anything. Here, what more importantly I'm considering is, for example, metacognitive strategies, cognitive strategies, and socio-affective strategies. So in this sense, remember, just a quick reminder here, metacognitive strategies are the ones that are involved with you planning. You're not doing the learning yet, you're planning on doing the learning. This is before the actual learning. Then the cognitive strategies, well, this is where you're actually in the process of learning now. You're using your cognitive skills and you're implementing them so that you're in the process of learning. And then the socio-affective, well, this is everything that has to do with you engaging with other people and using this social environment to improve your learning experience socially and effectively, meaning your emotions. Okay, so here's a bit more of text. So let's get into this template here that I'm providing for you so that you can easily copy paste this and place it wherever you wish. So a learning strategy template here. What I'm suggesting here is just a very general structure. You can, of course, adjust this as you need to, but this is more importantly a starting point for you. Now, first, what I recommend is that you give it a name. This is important because as you're collecting more strategies along the way, by just naming them, and this is a name that you provide, you will quickly identify what it's about, like without needing to get into the details. So just by looking at the name, it'll perhaps remind you of what it's about, and then you can go faster as you're focusing perhaps on your lesson planning. Also, try and do a brief description. So descriptions are great because say you get into the name, but then you want to remember like what was this about. So here is where you can actually state like the reason or the purpose for this strategy. And here is an example. Like we could say improves listening comprehension in adults through guided repetition. So notice it's a very quick, maybe a 1 or 2 sentence description, and you want to keep it quick and easy because the moment you start getting into these long sentences within the context of a strategy, then it's going to take you a long time to really understand what this is about, and it's just going to get cumbersome. So, quick, easy, short sentences is always the great option here for building your strategies. Now, for context, what you want to do is explain, again, briefly to the point, in what situations this strategy works best. Some strategies you'll find may work in several contexts. Others will be more specific to 1 or 2. So it really depends on how you are building your own strategies. And well, here you can specify that. Like, for example, this strategy may work for intermediate adults in an English class. There you go. So you already have the level, and you can also include like certain topics or skills. It really depends on you what you want to add in this specific property. But again, remember, avoid doing those long sentences. Just quick, to the point, list a few things to help you understand when to use this strategy. And lastly, here, the materials. This is your basically the list of materials you will need or are required to successfully execute this strategy. What you don't want to do here is getting to the steps and say you're in the classroom and start implementing this strategy and then find along the way that you're missing materials. So now you have abruptly interrupted the flow of the strategy and thus the learning process in your students. So you want to avoid that at all costs. So including a quick list of materials is really important here so that when you're working with the strategy with your students, you have everything you need and you can just execute it and everybody has a great time. So everything that you may need, like for example, a class video, a notebook, a timer, a pen or pencil, a notepad, like even the basic materials is important so that you are always 100% sure that you have everything you need to uh, to execute this strategy. So let's get into the steps here. Now, this of course is not an actual strategy. Here, basically what I'm doing is including some help notes to guide you in the process. So let's go through these very quickly. So here, the first one, the first note is write clear instructions. What you want to do is, again, avoid those long sentences and as short as possible and always using imperatives. Remember, an imperative is every sentence that starts with a verb. So watch the video, listen to the audio, write down your notes, those sort of things. Obviously, you may need a few more words, maybe 6, 7, 8, or 9, or 10 words in your imperative, but again, as short as possible, but without missing the context of or the idea of what you need to do. Okay, keep each step short and direct. Here, just reinforcing the previous one. Note 3 new words, for example. This could be like a quick and short idea. Instead of, take out your notebooks, do this, do that, do these colors. Instead, you want to break it down as much as possible and have those short imperative sentences. Ensure all essential steps are covered for it to work. Always go through the steps mentally. If this is the first time that you're writing this down and then you're going to implement it in your next lesson, be sure that you mentally go through the steps and actually imagine yourself guiding your students step by step as you have explained it, and imagine them going through those motions and validate each one of your steps and make sure that actually the step is a natural continuation to the next. So from 1, there's a natural continuation to 2, and from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4, and so on. So what you want to do is avoid those huge jumps, like say from 3 to 4, there's like a big gap of instruction. So you want to fill that in. So maybe you need a new step between 3 and 4. So now instead of having 6 steps, you'll have 7 steps, which is fine. As long as everything is covered in a natural way, then you're fine. Now, in other situations, you may have some strategies that actually are a little bit more elaborate. So a great way to do that, to break it down, is to use substeps or lists within lists. This way, what you could do is you can break it down into, say, steps, like these big steps or stages within a strategy. So you may have like these main steps that go here, and then you'll have a stage. And within this stage, you have these sub-steps. And that way, you can easily see where you are and how you're evolving as you go along, instead of just having this enormous list of, say, 20 to 30 steps you could perhaps break those down into stages or chapters or however you wish to call them. And that way, you don't have these 30 steps. Say you break it down to 10, but you'll have several stages there, and each of those will have, say, 5 or 6 sub-steps. So in this way, it'll be much easier for you to understand how to break it down, how to go from section to section, and ultimately achieve the objective. Okay, and as we go here, number 5, test the strategy, tweak it based on results. So most importantly here, your strategies should always be organic and ever evolving. So just as humans, we are always evolving, always changing, your strategies should match that as well. So this means that as you're using it more often, always evaluate the series of steps that you have developed here and check yourself. Are these steps still relevant? Do I need to change it? Do I need to adapt it? Do I need to add or take away? And you're continuously evaluating these steps. This way, your strategy will always remain relevant and current for your students. Lastly here, check if it aids learning. If it does, it's a success. So again, strategies could be like very specific to the person who is developing them. And just like you're evaluating the steps of how, if they are relevant or not, and if you need to take away or put in, also look at the end result. If it is actually aiding the learning process, then that's it, you got it. Then you just keep it as it is and come back to it at another time and then reevaluate and then continue to apply it. So the moment that you see that it is not aiding the learning process, that it is in fact like making it a little bit more confusing, that's when you need to stop and say, okay, wait a minute. Okay, what do I need to see and change about this specific strategy? So that's where you have to reevaluate. And lastly here, some notes. So in this note, like you could say, look, you could leave yourself notes for your future self. I don't know, something like remember to give positive feedback always, or something like adults enjoy practical examples, things that you're picking up as you're implementing this strategy over and over again, like quick reminders. Now you can either integrate those things eventually within the steps or just leave them as reminders. Again, it really depends on you how you wish to work your structure for strategies and as you're developing and improving on them over time. Okay, so this is just the general template. You can easily go ahead and select, copy paste this and put it into a document, and you're good to go. And then just replicate it over and over again as many times as you need. Now, in addition to this, what I'm doing here is providing a practical example. So in this occasion here, I have a strategy, a specific strategy, which is called selective attention for listening. And here what I'm doing is placing everything within a specific context. So, which is everything I already explained above. So ear on, nose off. Noise off. So this would be the name of the strategy. Here is the quick description so that I can glance at it and immediately understand what this is about. Here is the context where this strategy applies and the short list of materials that I need to execute this strategy. In addition to that, okay, we get into the steps. Here they are. Notice again, they are short, quick. They have the necessary information for me to really understand what I need to do, how I need to guide my students, what to look for, in this case, within the listening, and also help students achieve the expected outcome. And lastly, notes. So in my notes here, I have 2 notes just for my future self, just to kind of remind myself. Adults with busy schedules might find this quick and practical. If students miss too much, shorten the clip. Again, notice how this helps me to work the steps over here. You may decide to consider this within the steps or leave it as a note. Like, again, these sort of decisions you can make as you're building your own strategies. Maybe it works best for you to have these notes within the steps. Maybe it works best having them as notes aside from the steps. Most importantly, remember, your steps need to be short, quick, direct, and actually just tell you what this is about, what you need to do. It's your instruction manual right here. So your notes should complement this part. Okie dokie then. So here is then the template that you can copy paste to get you going with developing your very own learning strategies. All right. See you next time.